Peace, family. How y'all doing out there? Vocal Dialect Podcast. We are back. I am Knowledge Born 7. Here my partner, Kinwato Akil, as well. So we have the general here, General Shaka San Kofa. Brother Jared will not be with us tonight. We have a special guest in the building, Arthur Elijah Lewis. Brother, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself, and we're gonna go from there.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody, and brothers. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's an honor to share this share the space with you all. Yeah. So, as Brother Knowledge said, my name is Elijah Lewis. I'm an author. My book is called "Your Jewels Are in Your Journey: Life Lessons Lead to Your Optimal Self." In addition to that, I'm also a motivational speaker, and I'm also an engineer. I work with NAVC in Indian Head, Maryland. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, so grew up most of my life in the Baltimore area. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me and what I do.
Okay, my brother. You're an author. Uh, your jewels on your journey. Um, what what did you get the title from?
Okay, well, that's a really good question. I like that. So it's funny because when I met my publisher, this is in 2022, like around September, and he asked me to come up with some titles for my book, and I came up with like 13 titles, and we were just going through the list of like, okay, this one may sound good, this is all right, and then he just said, okay, you know what? Because I had some pen and paper. He said, "Let me see your pen and paper real quick." And actually, he wrote on the paper, "Your jewels are in your journey, life lessons lead to your optimal self." And when he did that, I never thought of that, but it really just stood out because when you think about it, I tell people that we're all on a journey, and if you look hard enough, you're going to find those jewels along the way. So, really, I have to give credit to my publisher because he really came up with the title. Like I said, I had like 13 titles, but none quite stuck out like the one he came up with for the book.
Okay. Next question I have for you: was it hard for you putting this project together?
Honestly, no. I would say because one thing again my publisher did when we met was because he's an author and motivational speaker himself. He gave me an outline of how to write my book. You know, how this is how you start. You know, try to start by writing at least a chapter every time you try to write your book, and maybe even go into the next chapter a little bit as well. So really, I didn't have too many writer's block. He gave me a great outline. It was very easy to follow. I think the only times things got a little difficult in my book is when I talk about some of the challenges that I went through. Um, because a lot of times we feel as though we've moved on from the obstacles that we've overcome or the trauma that we face. So, really, in a way, it was kind of interesting to put myself back in that mindset, but it did allow me to have somewhat of a therapeutic moment to understand what I went through and how to overcome the various challenges, whether it was, you know, my struggles in school. I talk about how there was a really uh, close friend that I had that, you know, I've since been able to, rekindle that friendship and how tough that was to losing. And even the fact that I tell people about my experience about, unfortunately, I was a part of a religious group that unfortunately turned out to be a cult too. So, you know,
Mm.
moments like that were very difficult to revisit because, like I said, you think you overcome these things and that doesn't affect you. But it really goes to show you, unless you take the time to reflect and process what happened, it's really hard to move forward. So I think that was the one benefit that I did like about writing my book.
Sounds interesting. I checked it out. The information and everything. Pretty solid. Strong book. You know, I like it. I'm sure if I like it, other people will like it. But yeah, putting a book together. Some people say it's difficult. Some people say it's not. The word jewel stands out to me. I'm a man of commerce. I came into knowledge of self study and commerce, and we was always taught about seven jewels. When we dealing with commercial or international paperwork, we always have to drop like seven jewels, on a particular commercial subject. But yeah, I love the title and everything. You know what I'm saying? And just pretty much writing down your journey. We all have journey. We all have our own journey, and in our journey, we're gonna have to find our jewels. What maybe if it's enlightenment, awakening, or or having a aha moment. Those are jewels as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I tell people when they read the book, I typically say you're going to learn at least three things. I tell people that, as you said, Brother Knowledge, you talk about the jewels of it all. Like you're really going to learn that obviously life lessons are jewels, but the people that we come in contact with, I say this a lot, that help to make us be better as people are jewels. And finally, at the end, you learn that you yourself are a jewel. Because I tell people, if you don't know who you are, it's hard to know where you're going. And like you said, that knowledge of self, knowing who you are. When you know who you are as a person, the rest of the jewels in the journey fall into place. So really, once you have those three areas mastered, I tell people that you're pretty much you pretty much have a roadmap to get to the ultimate destination, which is to be your optimal self.
Okay. Um, First of all, it was an honor meeting you, and I got to give shout outs to your father, man. We had an interesting and strong, powerful build, the three of us, and that's what drew me to the book because I've attended so many different events and things of that nature, and a lot of vendors have their own personal autos and biographies and things like that. That some of them, well, most of them don't gravitate to my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But after we engaged in the conversation, and I felt your energy, I knew that I made the right decision. You know, and so, but a lot of things in the book are very, very powerful and intriguing. A lot of the quotes that you've gotten from you know, movies and other athletes and entertainers. But one of the things that was kind of heartfelt, but it was powerful, is when your father felt he had let you down, and then you gave him some inspiring jewels and let him know that actually, he's the hero. And then when you wrote in school, when they told you who was your favorite, who was the greatest person, your hero, and you said your father, that was, that brought power. That's impactful. And a lot of people need to hear that. And even with the part where, you had called yourself knowing what you were doing when your parents were telling you, when you're driving long distance to kind of pull over and get some rest, and then you end up in that, the little fender bender and stuff like that. So, those are the Jews that I gravitated from. And, a lot of people may not know you went to Tuskegee as well,
Sure.
and,
Shout
and, and
out to you.
it's to see powerful young men stand on the platform that you stand on. And also, a lot of people may not know that you are well educated and knowledgeable in Kemetic history as well. You know, because I read some of the things that you were talking about that related to ancient Kemet. So, that's why it's such an interesting book, because it covers a variety of different issues, traumas, pains, learning lessons, and how you took those lessons, and made them into jewels. You've taken the worst situations, and you not just overcame them and became triumphant in that, but it was the discipline and understanding that they were mistakes. Because in one quote I was reading, you said that it's okay to make a mistake, but if you continue to make the same mistake over and over again, it becomes a decision.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
that was very, very impactful. So, um, I'm extremely proud of you, and you need to be kind of put on your voice needs to be heard. Your experiences need to be heard to the masses of brothers and sisters um, in your generation, because they don't understand that those hardships is what defines your character.
Yes, absolutely.
And you've definitely shown and proved that all of these difficult situations that you have encountered, you have made effort to do, and that's to see where you're at, standing with your own book, aside with your father to your side, which is a very, very powerful man with a strong constitution,
Absolutely.
and that's something to be extremely proud of. That's something to actually, look at, based on the situations that our communities, which lack father spirit, more or less fatherhood. So these things are a blessing, man. So, once again, I haven't completely read the entire book, but I read enough to know that it got my attention to the point where I'm learning and taking a lot of Jews from that book. So once again, man, it's an awesome piece of work. So it's worth it, man. It is truly worth it, man, and it's an honor, you know, um, meeting you. I'm glad you came on to the show to share your experiences, your hopes, your visions, and the impact that you will have on your generation and future generations.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And Brother Shaka, I appreciate all those kind words. And I tell people I really, really value when my elders, give their feedback of my book. Because I tell a lot of times that, you know, you all don't have to necessarily read the book. I mean, I know you all have experienced more life and had more knowledge than I do. But anytime, my elders give those thoughtful words about, this is what the book did for me, or I think my grandson or my granddaughter or whoever it is going to like this book. It just means a lot, because like I said, you all have come before me and have lived longer and have more experience. But, anytime that I can get some positive feedback from my elders when it comes to this, that definitely means a lot. So I definitely appreciate what you said, Brother Shaka. I appreciate that. Much respect.
Yes,
What
sir.
what are some of the things that you mentioned about ancient Kemet?
Okay, well, one of the things I mentioned is funny. I'm part of a book club. I'm part of with a group called the African Village of New York City. We have our weekly study groups. So once a week on Tuesday we read a book, and now they're actually reading my book. So it's really impressive to be a part of that. But one of the things we read last night was kind of what Brother Shock was mentioning with chapter 3, which is have a good role model. And in fact, I have the book in front of me. I can give you a little snippet of what he was talking about for the audience. Bear with me one second. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So this is on page 37. And this is actually about how I talk about my role model, which is my dad. So on page 37, this is the second paragraph. Um, and this is where I say, while I was at Tuskegee in my orientation class, we were given the task of writing about our role model. And I ultimately wrote about my father. It was not only for a grade, but it was my way to thank him for all the hard work that he has done for me. If there is one sentence that I could say that describes the relationship that I have with my father, it is that without him, there is no me. And without my mother, there is no me either. And I have to respect the balance, that's the key word right there, balance, of a parental relationship with the child. In ancient Kemet or Egypt, one of the concepts taught was ma'at, and one of the principles of ma'at is balance. And this leads me to my final point in this chapter, which speaks to both men and women. To men, I will say you cannot use the excuse of not having a father in your life as to why you are not in your children's life or why you cannot fulfill certain roles as a man, because the universe will put some man in your life who will teach you the lessons you need to have. Plus, if you're man enough to make a child, then you have to take the responsibility to raise that child. To women, I will say there is a risk, unless there is a risk of harm to you or your child, You should not keep a man away from your child if he truly wants to be active in his child or children's life. The last thing our children need is to grow up with a poisoned mindset against someone who ultimately wants to be in their lives. And this is on page 38, and I'll probably wrap it up with this. Children respect balance. Again, because there is no child who wants to grow up in a chaotic or dysfunctional home. We cannot continue the cycle of broken homes. If we do, then what are we teaching our children? That it's okay for a man to not be in their children's lives? Or is it okay for an independent woman, or that it's okay to be an independent woman and that a man is never needed? That kind of thinking only leads to trauma for the next generations. Again, our children need the presence of a father to protect and provide for them, and they need the presence of their mother, since the mother is the first teacher and great nurturer. Above all, you need to have a great role model to help you in life, but it's important to return the favor to the next generation that follows. Remember, what goes around comes around. So, to Brother Knowledge, to your point, that's kind of one of the things I spoke about with Ma'at and Ancient Kemet, because ever since, as we all know, since ancient Kemet, we've always had the black man and the black woman side by side. It's never one was above the other. There's a picture I saw on social media that my dad has in his house. It's a picture of a brother and a sister, and it's basically saying that we were not created equal, but we were created to balance. So it's like people like say it's the yin and the yang. So that's an example where I was trying to say that, hey, our children need both parents in the home. And if you don't have that, then you don't have a balance. And if there's no balance, then it's hard to have my. So that's kind of an example that I use to talk about some of the stuff from ancient Kemet, because that's the original your jewels in your journey, because that came way before I came on the scene. So we always have to go back to the beginning when we talk about the wisdom that our ancestors gave us.
And so we just pinned your website to the top of the comment, so everyone's who out there looking want to support the brother, his website, www.elijahlouis.org is pinned at the top. You go to this website and purchase the book.
Okay.
Also, when you go to the website, buy the book from his website, because you will receive a signed copy. Go ahead, Brother Shaka.
Right.
The other question I had was, and to Brother Elijah, when we talk about that balance, what would you tell the brothers and sisters, the young brothers and sisters of your generation who lack that balance, who has dealing with that deficiency of not having one parent?
I would say definitely. First of all, try to understand what happened if you can. If need be, if you need to talk to somebody, like a therapist or anything like that, if it's really traumatic for you, it's okay to get help. But I also said it because when I talk about learning from your mistakes, sometimes it's not necessarily your mistakes. It might be mistakes of people who came before you. So if you grew up in a one parent household and you saw the damage that did maybe to you or your siblings or what have you, then I would hope inspire a person to say, you know what, I need to pick the right person or the right mate so I can have that stable family, if that makes sense. So it's all about, I think, really learning to evaluate your situation. And like I said earlier, the Most High will put someone in your life to get that balance. So you may be in a single mother led home. So you have a mother in your life. That's great. But maybe the Most High will give you the balance from the masculine side, maybe from your uncle or your grandfather or your coach or whoever. So you can, if you look hard enough, you can find that balance, or if you can find groups like what we're doing right now, where we have brothers who can have conversations like this and can give guidance to our young men, and even for the ladies giving guidance to the young women who are trying to find that balance themselves. That's some of the situations that I would say that could hopefully lead someone on the right path to gaining the balance that they need in their life.
Yeah, because even in Baltimore City and in other cities, you know, that ratio is extremely high in the Black community.
Yes.
So, you know, that's why I was asking you that, you know, to because it's you more of an impact to your generation than we could be, because you're more, they'll be more receptive to the information because they see the living proof of achievement and you know how to overcome different obstacles and dilemmas.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I think ultimately it boils down to, like what you said, Brother Shaka. It really boils down to, I think, us having a village mentality. That mentality where we are all, one people, and we all need to look out for each other. We have that type of mentality. We can especially help the people who are maybe lacking the balance that they need in their lives. So if we take on that mentality, and I would even say to your point, I appreciate, definitely for our young people, I definitely try to be an example, being someone who's, somewhat relatively still young as well. But, but definitely we still do need our elders too. We can't, dismiss the wisdom of our elders too. The African proverb says, that the youth can walk faster, but the elder knows the road. So, definitely, young people like me, I definitely want to be an example to the people who are coming behind me as well. But at the same time, we definitely want to make sure that our elders are still being used for their wisdom as well, because definitely we can't take that for granted either. So it really boils down to both sides working together to help our children moving forward. You have the youth maybe who are more vibrant and more in the forefront, but you still have the wisdom of the elders at the same time as well.
All right, hey y'all out there listening, the brother saying pretty sharp, man. Speak
Yeah.
pretty good. Hey, might be the future leader. You know what I'm saying? These, to me, you are the youth or the brother that we have to protect, because the powers that be, they want brothers like you. They want the smart mind. They want the free thinkers. They want them so they can control them and manipulate them, and push it towards their agenda. We're losing a lot of our, I'm gonna say it like this, black intellect,
Mm,
because we're being entertained by foolishness, not just entertained by foolishness. Now they're using media and all these distractions, social media, to captivate our minds. Like you say, you part of a book club. A lot of young black men are not part of book clubs. I've been a part of a couple of book clubs.
hmm.
And a book club is refreshing. To
Yes,
get the
absolutely.
information, and not just get the information, but to get other people's ideals about a particular subject that you may have read. Because of many minds together in a room, we may read one subject matter, but we may have different areas, or different thoughts coming from that subject matter. Me, Shaka, and Ken, we dialogue all the time, and majority of the time we have different answers, but it's the same answer. That's one thing I do want to say. Brothers like you, and the intellect, we have to protect that, because the youth needs that. Like Shaka said, someone is going to resonate with you more than they will resonate with me. They'll see you as living proof and walking proof right in front of them. Like, man, yo, if he can do it, I could do it. So that's real big. I like that.
Hey, appreciate that, brother Knowledge. Thank you. Definitely means a lot. So thank you.
Um, when did you start writing?
Oh, okay. All right. Well, it's funny. I actually, so this is my first book. Now I am in the process of writing a second one, just as a FYI. But I started writing Your Jewels and Your Journey in October of 2022, and I completed the book in March of 2023, and it came out in May of 2023. So uh, it was a 6 month process to write the book, but yeah, that's when I started. Was October of 2022.
So you gonna write more books?
That's my plan. I'm trying to work on a second one that kind of has some elements of your Jules and your journey. I definitely want it to be more family based, but still working on that. But really, also just talking about more so healing from various obstacles and trauma too. That's what I'm working on at the moment. But yeah, if the spirit leads me to write more books even after that, then I definitely want to keep doing it because one thing I've enjoyed about writing is I just find it very therapeutic. It's very therapeutic to get your thoughts out on paper and being able to create something that could inspire a lot of people, like we talked about earlier, the youth, or it doesn't even matter, sometimes not even the youth. Sometimes, like I said earlier, I've had elders say, you know what, I've enjoyed your book. I loved it. In fact, uh, I'm part of the because like you said, I went to Tuskegee, so I'm part of the Baltimore Tuskegee Alumni Club, and one of my alumni club members, who's an elder herself, she, when I first said I'm going to write a book, she was just like, well, how much life experience do you have? Like, I mean, it's like, and it's like after she read the book, she was like, oh my gosh, you really have been through a lot of life experiences. So, definitely, if I can keep doing it, then definitely I want to continue to write more books moving forward.
Okay, for those y'all who's on, excuse me, I got a cold. It's on the feed. We have it's our website pinned to the top of the comment section on this live, and go support the brother.
Indeed, indeed. Now, what is your goal? We always talk about, our gifts and our journeys, which are actually two separate entities. A lot of times we get the gifts confused with the journey. Gift is what you've been blessed with as a tool, mainly for to provide for your well-being, your welfare, take care of your family, such and such, like athletes, entertainers, and so on. But the journey, the life journey, is totally separate from the gift. And so, what is your journey?
Well, I guess I would say my journey is basically a person who had a lot of challenges, and no, I mean, let me rephrase that. I would say my journey is a person who's had a lot of success, but in order to achieve that success, like anyone else, I had to overcome a lot of challenges along the way. And pretty much my journey is telling people that it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And if you pay attention to the right lessons that life brings you and you find the right people who can help you along the way, you can make that ultimate goal of being your optimal self a reality. So, in fact, it's funny because one of the things that I did a couple weeks ago with somebody was we did a webinar. It was called "What Do You Do with the Life That You Were Born Into?" And pretty much the whole focus on that is like, okay, we have life, or we have a journey. So what are we going to do with it? And I tell people is, if you embrace your journey, you can really find out that you can inspire a lot of people as well. Because like Brother Knowledge said, some people say like, okay, if this brother or this sister was able to overcome these challenges and have this level of success that they have today, then maybe I can do the same. So, my journey, Brother Shaka, is pretty much, I can say I've had some great success and I'm thankful for that as well. I understand I went through some various challenges, but those challenges made me better as a person and they made me the man who I am today. And what I want to take, I guess, as you said, my gift would be, you know, giving people that inspiration that they need to get the results in their life as well. Because the way I see it is, if somebody, reads my book and they say, you know what, I read your book and I decided to do this, that, and the third with my life and make these changes to be better, then I feel at that point, then I've done my job.
Okay, well said.
Very well said.
But
Go ahead, Ken. You got a question?
About
Okay. My next question is, okay, you got the book, a complete project. You getting traction? What does it take for you to be a New York Times best-selling author?
That's a good question. Well, well, I would say if anything, you just have to keep going. And I know that's like a very generic answer, but this is what I mean by that. What I tell people is if you want to be an author, one of the things my publisher told me was he said, don't consider your reader, consider yourself. And that's not to say we don't consider the reader at all, but the way I interpreted that was you have to be genuine in what you want your story to be and what you want to share with people. And as long as you are being genuine and authentic, then you may not get everybody, but you will get the right people to support you. And when I say people just to keep going, hey, your first book event, maybe you only get a couple people who buy your book, but don't stop. If you have something that is meaningful to you, that is your passion, that's your purpose, then you have to keep going. It's kind of like that quote I think Dr. King said, if you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. It's like you have to just keep moving and keep putting yourself out there because the more you do that, people will take notice and people will say, you know what? I've been watching this young man or I've been watching this young lady, continue to hustle and grind. And, he or she is really passionate about their work. You know what? I'm going to help this individual move forward. So, I don't know if I will ever. Well, I don't know if I'll ever get to a New York Times bestseller. But one thing I will say to brother knowledge is, if that happens, I would be totally happy if that does. But if it doesn't, I still know the worth of my book and my work. So as long as, like I said, I'm helping my people and helping them be better, then that's better than any New York Times bestseller. So hey, I'm not knocking it. If that happens, I would be really thankful. But hey, I view this as more like, hey, this is something that means a lot to me. It's just being able to help people and not so much as looking at this high status by saying yes, I'm a New York Times bestseller. Because for some people, a lot of success can sometimes change them and not for the better. Because once you start getting to that point, it's like, okay, you start looking down at people and you think, yes, I'm a New York Times bestseller. And do you know who you're talking to now? It's just like, and I don't really want to be that person. So, if it happens, like I said, that's great. But if it doesn't, hey, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep putting my book out there. And I know I'm going to find the right people along the way.
That's cool. I always go ahead, Ken.
I was saying that's a good answer. And for those that's joining in, if you have any questions for the brother, drop it in the chat. Feel free to drop it in the chat.
I always encourage our young people to write because considering our history as a people, a lot of it has been written by Europeans. So these ancient places, like the pyramids and things of that nature, overseas. Of course, we didn't have money to travel like that. So, Europeans, they were the one doing all the traveling and documenting our story. They became so obsessed with us. They named the whole ology after us, Black people, Egyptology. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't know, the study of chemistry, the study of any science is Black people is dealing with melanin. Chemistry is dealing with melanin. Biology is dealing with melanin. The power of the melanin cells is very, very powerful because all the science comes from dealing with melanin. Also, the drug industry, it's all about melanin. Up until now, now they have the synthetic drugs and stuff like that. But I always encourage us as a people to write, tell our own stories because they have told enough stories for us.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And honestly, I think one of the things that's because I honestly people ask me this a lot of times when I do interviews. It's like, did you ever think about writing a book, or were you always passionate about writing? It's just like I told him no. I mean, because I didn't think I could write a book. I thought you had to have like this special talent to be a writer and things like that. But you really will be surprised when you really sit down and think about things that have been on your mind for a very long time that you've never gotten out, or you'd be surprised what you can come up with. And I really think even if it's just not to be an author, even if it's just you just want to write just a journal or people who have diaries and stuff like that. Like you said, brother, now it is a great thing to do. It's very therapeutic. It's very creative. And we're creative people. So, one of the principles we just celebrated Kwanzaa a couple months ago is Kuumba. That's creativity. So, I mean, writing is a huge part of creativity. And like you said, we need to tell our own stories, and that's the beauty about it. So, I tell anybody, you definitely will be surprised with what you can come up with, especially if something has been on your spirit for a long time. That might be an indication that your intuition is telling you that you need to get this out. So, hey, don't sell yourself short. And if you want to be an author and or you just want to write and try to, get your poetry or whatever out there, then all means do that, because that's maybe the gift and talent you've been blessed to have. And don't sell yourself short on that.
I
And
got one more. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Malik
King.
Muhammad had a question for the brother. Could you read it to
Malik Muhammad. Malik said, when did you know you was a member of a cult?
Oh, well, so for those who don't know, I talk about this in my book. I spent 10 years of my life as a Hebrew Israelite. And this is not me trying to attack all Hebrew Israelite groups. We may have some people who might be listening to the show, and we welcome them. We don't want to, at least I don't want to offend anybody. So, but this is just my story. So the group that I was a part of was definitely a cult. So for me, because it's interesting, I started in that when I was 6 years old. So my parents and I joined in 2003. My dad left in 2012, and then he took me out in 2013, and then my mother left later that year as well. I would say I think I finally knew it was a cult probably about maybe around 2014, because like I said, I was a teenager, and for me, in that environment, and I talk about it in my book, that's all I really knew, because you're talking about when I was 6 years old to about 16 going on 17. So for me, I just thought that was normal. I just thought that, hey, this is going to be my life until either A, I make my transition, or B, as the, Israelites like to say, when Christ comes back, So, for me, I didn't think of it much as being a cult, because I just thought like, okay, this is just what I'm supposed to do, as a child, and I knew my parents wouldn't put me in a position where something would be harmful to me. So, I can't say I knew it was a cult right when I first joined, obviously, but certainly when I found out like that there was a lot of, financial exploitation, a lot of people were just struggling to make ends meet. I mean, we were struggling too. I mean, I talk about how we, went a month in our house without any electricity. I mean, it was that bad because we gave that much money to the church we were a part of. So for me, I think it was about probably around 2014 when I first started to understand what I went through. But I even would say on a deeper level, once I started writing my book and I was able to look back about how much I had been through with that church, that's when I think it really finally clicked. Like, okay, yeah, really, you were in a cult, And I think to land my plane here, I will say that I think for a lot of young people, this is just my opinion because I'm not a therapist or a psychologist, but I think when you're young and you experience trauma like that, you know something is wrong, but a lot of times I don't think you understand it until you get older. And I think now that I got a little bit older and I was able to reflect on it, that's when all the pieces started to come together. And me being able to write about that was really helpful because I really didn't share that with a whole lot of people. So, being able to make myself vulnerable and, really just tell my story. That's all I wanted to be, was be vulnerable and authentic. So yeah, I think really that's when I really truly understood that I was in a cult.
Okay, my question was the book cover, because I'm in the process of um putting me a piece out there as well. But
Mm-hmm.
I was reading that the book cover is very important
Yes.
for as the attraction of people, and things like that. So how did you come up with the book cover?
So what I did was I sketched out the book cover. I didn't do all the elaborate details because I'm not the best artist, if you will, but what I just decided to do was like, okay, since we're talking about a journey, that's pretty much going to be like a road. So when you're going along let me turn the cover around too so people can see. That might even be better. So like you see right here, like you have a road, which is the journey. But on that road, you're going to say, okay, we have your jewels in your journey. So I thought, okay, let me sketch like a diamond in the middle of the road to symbolize that as you go about your journey, you're going to find those jewels along the way. And as you look in the corner over here, you see the sign that says Journey 1,000 miles. Well, that comes from the saying that Sun Tzu said that, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. So that's kind of what I did was, try to incorporate those three pieces together and come up with the book cover. So really, I came with the sketch, but my publisher and his team, they really added like the pizzazz, if you will, to it. So I kind of gave them the foundation, but they kind of put the finishing touches on it. So that's kind of how the book cover came together, just to kind of symbolize when you see your jewels in your journey.
Yeah, the brother Malik said he gonna pick up your book. He said, "Thanks for sharing your story, brother."
Oh, well, Brother Malik, hey, thank you for just being willing to hear my story, and I appreciate the support, and definitely look forward to getting you your signed copy. So thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
I'm definitely going to get one of your books as well, too, my friend.
Right.
Hey, definitely just appreciate again, brother. Just thank you the opportunity just to come on the show and tell my story and all the support that you guys gave or give me. So definitely it means a lot. So just thank you again.
I had a question. Where do you see yourself in the future, brother?
For me, I would probably say definitely, like I said, I still want to write another book. I definitely would like to do more motivational speaking. Pretty much, for me, it doesn't matter if it's younger or older. But I would, because I've had people say, like, hey, you should be putting this, like, for like high school students or our young people. And it's interesting because one of my Tuskegee alums had a program called, I think it was the Young Achievers Program, which was a bunch of high school students in Delaware, and she said that all the high school students in the program read my book. They said they loved it. And I got a chance to speak to them at the end of the program, which is really cool as well. So for me, I think if I can definitely write another book and really speak really so to, I would say, the youth. And I mean, don't be wrong, I don't mind speaking to people who are older than me too. That's not a problem at all. But as far as like the youth is concerned, because they're just starting out on their journey, what better way to try to get them started early now to avoid the same pitfalls that, a lot of us made before them. So, if I can really get, be able to speak to the youth and try to inspire them, then that'd be really great to do. Like I said, I don't mind speaking to, my elders too, because, I'm willing to help anybody who needs it. But, definitely, for my young people out there, definitely giving them the tools they need on their journey would be really beneficial and something I really would like to do.
How old are you? How
Oh,
old are
I'm
you?
28.
Okay, cool. I remember I was 28 years ago.
All
Yeah.
right, family. Any last words, fellas, before we end the show?
It was it's an honor and a pleasure. Um, and one thing I didn't I think I didn't explain it to you properly was, what do you think you were sent here for? That's what that's that I got that kind of twisted with the word journey, but actually what I meant was, what do you think you were actually sent here to do?
That is a very good question. It kind of relates to one of the things I talk about with like my motivational speaking is like the reality of your vision and like how you need purpose with your vision. And even in my book I talk about how everyone has a purpose. So with that question you just said, General Sankofa, I would say I think I'm at the place in my life now where really because of this book, I've been inspired to want to help more people and just to know that there's a purpose inside of you that ultimately that you can fulfill, but also just to remind our people who they are, and I think honestly, because of this book, I think I've been able to realize that, and I'm really thankful that it's been able to give a lot of impact so far. So I think for me, I would say at this moment of my life right now, because it could change, but I would say at 28 right now, I would say that my purpose is here to help people to be the best they can be and just give them the experience and the lessons that I've learned. And hopefully that will inspire them to do better, even better than me in a lot of cases, because like I said, you read my book. So far, I've made my mistakes too. So, definitely that's, I think, what my purpose is, just to inspire people and just let them know that there's a purpose, and that they themselves are jewels as well. And that once they know that, they can go very far along their journey. And I just wrap it up by saying, like how Booker T. Washington said, if you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else. So that's kind of how I view my purpose, is trying to lift up the people who are, alongside of me along the way.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. Um, when Shaka said, told us about you, I like, yeah, because we need to, spotlight young brothers and sisters such as yourself, and show y'all story, because it's so much. They always, especially media, they always show our youth or young people in the negative role, and that's not the truth. It's good and bad, but they never spotlight the positive things that the young brothers and sisters what's going on in our community. They never do that. So yeah,
Absolutely, that is very true. But
yeah,
but but honestly, brother Kenwaro, I this is what I think I love about what programs like what you all are doing, because ultimately we know that the powers that be are not going to shine the positive spotlight on this,
yeah,
the positive work that we do, but that's for us to do. So really, just the fact that shout out to you all for just creating this space to do that. I mean, because we can't you know, we can't depend on the enemy to do that for us, because they don't want to do that. They want to just focus on the negative. So anytime we have a space like this where we can talk about positivity and the great work that we're doing, or even better, like the fact that we had the gala on Saturday, awarding people, shout out to you, brother Sankofa, for your award that you won. Just the fact that we have our own awards that we can give people for the great work they do in the community, like that's powerful. So, as long as we're doing that, then that will solve the answer to that problem, because we know the powers that be are not going to do that, for us at all. They have an agenda, which is, hey, it's like, black people, you guys are thugs, criminals, and this, that, and the third, and we don't care about none of that positive stuff you all are doing. So that's why it's so important that we have more spaces like this, because it's truly needed in our community. And just thank you all for creating a platform to do that.
yeah. Well said. And
Thank you.
for everybody that's on the feed, like the show, help us with the algorithm, help us get this brother out. You know what I mean? Because I like this. I like seeing young people, doing right and doing good. I like it, man. You inspire me. For real.
All right, family. We will see you guys next week. Brother General Shaka saying Kofu will definitely be on tomorrow. Definitely check him out on Facebook. T Shaka saying Kofa. We thank everybody for tuning in to the live on YouTube. Check the brother out. Buy his book. Buy his book. We want to see some numbers jump. So you guys definitely check us out next Wednesday. We'll be here at 8:15, same time.